This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. Most any contemporary musical style can trace its roots back to the blues. Time Signatures explores the blues and its musical connections with captivating interviews, lively discussions, and news from the world of the blues.
You know I'm crying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, as always, thank you, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin. Now, most of my guests here on the podcast have been and will continue to be blues musicians. But today's guest is someone I'm really honored to bring you because there's so much more than that. This gentleman has found a need, a desperate need, and he's found a way to turn his passion into action. Now, Steve is far more than your ordinary blues fan, but rather than expounding on the merits of what this man is doing, I want to introduce you all to Stephen Salter. He's the mayor of Whitehall, Michigan, and he's the founder of the Killer Blues Headstone Project. Stephen, welcome to Time Signatures, my friend.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, I'm really honored to have you here. And, you know, when I started this podcast just over a year ago, I remember that two of my good friends, Denise Lynch and Bonnie Queen Bee Stebbins, were telling me about the Killer Blues Headstone Project, and they were adamant that I simply had to interview you. So let's start by you telling our listeners and our viewers exactly what the Killer Blues Headstone Project is and how did it get started?
Well, as a 501c nonprofit, we have a mission statement, and it is the Killer Blues Headstone Project exists to provide headstones for blues artists lying in unmarked graves. Simple as that. It got started 15 years ago when I learned that one of my favorite blues artists was lying in an unmarked grave. And I took off from there. I had no intention of creating a project like I have, but it's just something that's kind of evolved. And here we are 15 years later, and we've placed 159 headstones in 16 states.
Wow, 16 states. Wow. And it's important to note, obviously, that this is not a purely Michigan endeavor. You're actually wherever you find the musicians without headstones, that's your goal, correct?
Wherever the need is, we want to be able to fulfill that need.
Now, is it just you doing the search for these unmarked graves, or are you finding that you're getting help from people that are now bringing you locations and names?
I do the majority of the research. I do occasionally get people that bring to me various locations of individuals that we're looking for. Occasionally I get people come to me and say, well, hey, this person is in an unmarked grave. Would you be willing to help us get a marker for them? So
yeah. Now, how do you decide where the next headstone's going to go? Do you have a list that's prioritized by location, or how does that work?
I have a list right now. I think it's somewhere between 25 and 30 individuals that I know where and I know they don't have a marker. And as far as prioritizing them, basically what I do is look at the ones that are going to offer the greatest chance of success and the least amount of resistance. So I know It's not a straight answer, but yeah. And a lot of times I've had people bring me a name and I go, oh yeah, okay, we can get on that right away. Or other times it's like, okay, there's a lot of work that's going to be involved and that's going to take time. So there isn't really a prioritized list at this point.
Okay. So it begs the question now, how do you fund the purchase of these headstones? I understand you're a 501c3, but how are you finding ways to raise money to buy these?
Well, for the first 13, 14 years, I would annually put on a concert, and that's how we would raise the money. It's got to be where it's just too expensive to put these shows on. Last year we started out doing as a nonprofit, we can get 12 one-day liquor control commission special licenses. And last year we partnered with GR8 food trucks and did a couple of events at the Grand Rapids Riverside Friday night truck rally, and that raised a decent amount of money. Excellent. So we're going to be back there again this year. We're also planning on doing a number of events at the Starlight Room in Muskegon. I don't know if you're familiar with that venue, but it's so we can bring in a one-day license to sell alcohol at their concerts, and that seems to be the way of the future. Is there's very little investment on our part, and oftentimes it's a great opportunity to raise funds, and we get donations from all over the world. At one time, a number of years ago, Bonnie Raitt actually wrote us a check for $1,000.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, I heard that a really cool project was put together by some mutual friends of ours. And the project that they undertook was to write a bunch of letters. And as a result, you received some recognition from the Blues Society a few years ago. I'd love for you to tell that story to our listeners and our viewers.
Yeah, that's it's the Blues Foundation's Keeping the Blues Alive Award. I wasn't aware that people were doing that, and apparently they saw it as a good enough reason to award me that honor. And we went to Memphis and rubbed elbows with a lot of fancy people and great musicians, and I tell people, I like the accolades. It's nice to be recognized, but this project is not about my recognition. This is about me recognizing these artists that created this music that is, as far as I'm concerned, the best music in the world.
Yes, sir.
You can go back to Willie Dixon, and he said, "Blues is the roots, everything else is the fruits."
There you go.
I'm trying to acknowledge those fruits.
Well, you're listening to and watching Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin. And with me today is the Killer Blues Headstone Project founder and the guy that's making it happen, Stephen Salter from Whitehall, Michigan. Stephen has been working for 15 years now and has been placing headstones on unmarked graves for all of that time. I have to ask you now, as you complete placement of the headstones, when you're out there placing these, have you ever had a chance to meet any of the family members, extended or otherwise, for these folks?
Yes, I have. And it's funny that you asked this question, is because today just so happens is the birthday of Eddie King. And I don't know if you remember Eddie King, but he was quite an artist of his own. Played guitar for Coco Taylor. A good friend of mine, Dave Wright, asked me about Eddie King needing a stone, and I said I wasn't aware that he had passed or where he was buried, and he put me in touch with his family, and within a few months we were able to place a stone for him. We had a ceremony at the cemetery with his family. And after the ceremony, his family invited us back to their home for a phenomenal soul food dinner that it's the best soul food that I've ever had in my life. And it warms my heart so much to be able to reach out and work with the family.
Yeah, I can imagine just being in the company of a blues musician's family like that. And it must have been a very cool experience to be in their presence and have them understand what you were doing there.
Yes, it was. And a lot of his, after the meal, a lot of his old band members and friends came to the house, and there was just an impromptu jam led by Johnny Dean, his side guitar player that was a big factor in Eddie King's band. And I've kept pretty close contact with Johnny Dean, and he's been a great supporter of the Headstone Project for years now.
That's wonderful. And with good reason, because this is one of those things that just continues to give back as you complete these projects. Talk about your affiliation and your activity with the West Michigan Blues Society, because I know you've been very active with them as well.
Well, I'm a busy guy. I have a lot of connections with the blues world, and I wanted to be a part of the Blues Society. I'm now on the board of the West Michigan Blues Society, and I want to do everything I can to help them succeed, to help blues musicians to succeed in this area. So I'm proud of that association with the West Michigan Blues Society.
I as a member of the Capital Area Blues Society here in Lansing, I've had the opportunity to meet you as well, and work with you a little bit in some of our summits that we're having. And one of the things that I like about, especially the state of Michigan, maybe I'm just a little bit, I don't know what the word is I want to use here, but I think that when it comes to the state of Michigan, the blues people in this state are just a cut above. I think they're personable, they're friendly, they're warm, they're engaging, and it makes it a real honor to be able to work with these people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for Michigan. I believe Michigan is the center of the universe, and I think people here are very friendly. Even in my hometown of Whitehall, I hear from people all the time, strangers, how warm and welcoming people are here in this community, and it's all over the state. I find, especially blues people, we want to be connected to one another. It's sure. Something that we love and we want to share. Oh, you like the blues? Oh, me too. Who's your favorite? What's this? What's that? Yeah. Who's your favorite artist? Mine is Howlin' Wolf.
There you go. Well, let me ask you this, Stephen. Once the project is done, if it ever is done, what are you going to do next?
Well, I don't think it's ever going to be done. As I have a list of probably 50 individuals that I don't know where they're buried, and therefore I don't know if they have a marker. So
okay,
I don't know as I'm going to live long enough to get through that, and I'm certainly, unless somebody like Eric Clapton or Keith Richards or somebody of that financial stature would be willing to step up and help us, then I'm going to be plugging along. Last year we put down 8 stones, so at that rate, it's going to take a while.
Yeah. What is just out of curiosity, what does the average cost of a stone run these days?
Well, these days it's around $1,200. When I started 15 years ago, it was about $400. So it takes a while. And I want to say, as far as where the funding comes from, I've got some West Michigan blues fans and even fans from out of state that send me every month. One sends $5, one sends $10 every month. This is something that all the blues fans all over the world, especially West Michigan blues fans, have made it possible for us to continue to do this. Because without the money, we don't go anywhere. People ask me all the time, "Oh, I love your project. How can I help?" Well, the first thing I need is dollars. The second thing I need for people to know we're out there and spread the word and hopefully ask people to donate and help us out.
That's one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on today. And speaking of your website, I was poking around on your website today. It's a very nicely set up website. There's a couple of things that I'm interested in getting a copy of, just because I've got a nice display here that I'd like to maybe have a couple items added up here on the wall. But specifically, You've got the little booklet that you have for sale with the Chicagoland grave sites. I think 275 musicians listed. You've got the art prints, and then you click on the QR code, and it opens up a whole new area that opens up a store that I was totally surprised to find all kinds of things in there. But let's go ahead and talk about the website for a minute. Where can followers of this program and others go to learn about the Killer Blues Headstone Project?
Well, if they just go to Google and they Google Killer Blues Headstone Project, it's going to come up.
Okay.
But the website is killerblues.net.
And we will absolutely put a link in the description for this video on YouTube. And I would encourage you to go in and scan that QR code and pick up some merchandise. They've got some goodies there. And of course, it's all going for a very good, worthwhile cause. And on the side of my hat here, right here, I actually have a Killer Blues Headstone Project pin, which I've worn proudly since I got it from you that day. And every now and again, people will stop me and ask about the pin. And of course, it gives me an opportunity to share. But one more thing that I noticed about the website, which is killerblues.net, correct?
That's correct.
Killerblues.net. When you go on there, they also have a direct link to make a donation. So if you go on the website, go check out some merchandise, but also click that donate button and make whether it's $5, $10, $2, whatever you can donate. This is a very, very worthwhile project to be a part of. And I'm just so excited to know that, something that started for you, Stephen, as a labor of love 15 years ago has grown to where it is. I mean, 16 states and how many headstones again?
159.
Absolutely. That's crazy to think that one man, and obviously it wasn't just you, but it was one man started the ball rolling. And now we've got 159 unmarked graves that are no longer unmarked. And I'm tickled to death to know that you're out there doing this. Now, I have to ask you, of all of the headstones that you have placed so far, what would you say the most well-known name is on that list?
And that's a question that I do get asked a lot. And
sure.
The answer I often give is, well, it depends on how well you know your blues.
Okay.
I would maybe go with probably the most, I would say, successful blues artist that we've done would be Lonnie Johnson.
Okay.
But as far as most famous, there's so many of them that Roosevelt Sykes was a very famous guy. And then there's people that are relatively unknown. Caliph Emery. Caliph Emery was B.B. King's drummer for 22 years.
Okay.
I guess he's probably not famous because he was just a sideman, but that's most of the
behind
people,
the guy that was.
He was. So most of the guys that we've done, and I do want to say I'm very proud that we have done 13 women also. We haven't neglected the women, but we find far fewer women in need of stones. But and I ask fans to say, if you know a blues artist that is in need, please reach out to us. So
now you have not only the website, do you have a Facebook, or where else can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. We have a Killer Blues Headstone Facebook page. I'm not real good at keeping that up. I have my own Steve Salter Facebook page that I post pretty much every day, and I mix it up between blues stuff and my mayor stuff and my own personal stuff. So that's a good way. My email is killerblues88@yahoo. So
very good.
I'm very accessible.
Well, Stephen Salter, it has been a pleasure to have you on Time Signatures today. Once again, if you would like to find out more information about the Killer Blues Headstone Project, go to killerblues.net. We are going to put the links to the Facebook page and the website down below this video. And we encourage everybody to go check this out. And as I said, make a donation, whether it's $2, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever you can afford. This is definitely worthwhile. And once again, we want to thank everybody for joining us, for watching and listening. And this is Jim Ervin reminding you, keeping the blues alive, well, that's everybody's goal. But preserving the history of the blues, one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, Jim Ervin, take care. We'll see you soon.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.
Baby, I'm